Hey everybody, Josh with Gamers Haven, giving you an update on the Mars terrain table. So I've been doing a lot of sculpting molding, a lot of plastic building. Right now I think I've got 6 pieces, and I'm going to show you kind of the centerpiece I've been working on. So a lot of times in game construction and terrain construction, I forget about line of sight blocking stuff. So I'm really good at building these out and building a lot of stuff, but I don't necessarily build them up such that there's a big, kind of centerpiece that is really line of sight blocking. So here, I've set out to kind of do that while also making it playable, fun, and fluffy. So without further ado, I'll show you kind of where we're at right now. So this is kind of the centerpiece right now. So I basically took 2 of these 11 by 14 sheets of MDF. I've got some 1 by 1 stringers. I'll show you a picture of those in a minute. It's screwed and glued, so it's nice and stiff. And then from there, I went and started off with 1 layer of foam, which you can see here, and there's a 2nd layer of foam. So the 1 layer of foam is just higher than those stringers, so I kind of surrounded the whole thing with that kind of foam, and you can kind of see some of the pieces underneath here. Then we added a 2nd layer of foam, and that 2nd layer is for this big kind of gantry, the galvanic gantries, whatever they are, from Games Workshop. And in building this, my headspace is it's kind of like a refueling station. So I've got kind of this pathway goes up and drives through and you go out the other side. It's just wide enough for a rhino to fit. So I've kind of sculpted it and pushed it back a little bit. So these are primed. They're not fully painted yet, but just kind of putting it on here to kind of show what it's going to look like before we go back in with sculpting mold. I've got some rocks. You can see we've got kind of 1 stuck in here. I've got a couple more over here. That's kind of one right there. We've got another one up here, kind of on the back side. We've got a few more, and basically I'm running out of sculpting mold. So I ordered some more. It should be here maybe in a week or so. I knew it was getting low, but thought I had enough for this. So I've got a little bit left, but really not enough. But to give you kind of a better view of this, as you're here from across the table, it's 2.5 inches high, so infantry can't see through it. Vehicles will be able to see through some of it, but by using this big kind of ferromantic, whatever it is, and then these are the Necromunda little fueler things, and I double stack them. So these are modular, or well, you can build a modular to give kind of 2 things to make it higher, and that's kind of the idea here. Is this nice and line of sight blocking. And then inside, I've got kind of this thing. So it's a fuel stack going up, and then we've got this other little pieces going in between. So it's as if there's a lot more going underground. This is kind of a vent going off, so probably have some either like waste fluid or smoke damage or something coming out of that. Haven't done the ladders yet, but the idea is there'll be a couple ladders on all the sides. Might throw some more bits and pieces down here, kind of this nice little flat section. But this is really what it's looking like right now. You can see we still got a fair amount of sculpting mold to fill in. But overall, it should be really nice. And once these are obviously connected together, everything will be glued and built down, and we'll have that kind of nice red finish. Next up, I'll show you some of the painting on these. So I tried to do kind of what I had seen Luke, previous of Geek Gaming Scenics, and Luke's APS with his Martian kill team board. They kind of built it up and trying to use a lot of techniques he used. However, I had some issues. One, the flat black primer I bought from Lowe's, the super cheap project store stuff, was garbage. It basically came out like black flake. So I've got a whole bunch of that terrain sitting in a big bucket of LA's Totally Awesome right now stripping. So probably about 1/3 of the terrain I built had that primer that was just garbage. So I took that off. Instead, we were using whatever this is, the Rust-Oleum, American Accents flat black primer stuff, which is pretty great. So that's what I'm using now. The second failure I had was trying to use rattle cans or spray cans, if you will, with metallics. So I tried a couple of dark steel metallics from Rust-Oleum. I tried some aluminum stuff, and it was coming out really splotchy, and it wasn't really giving the effect I wanted. So it would be a lot faster to do it with rattle cans, but after having that kind of bad experience, even when it was well primered, I'm going to switch instead to using my airbrush, which will make it a lot better effect, I think, but also a lot slower, especially because, I don't have like massive airbrushes. They're like, it's an Iwata HPCS that I'll be running through. I think the nozzle's like 0.5 maybe, 0.4. But that's what we'll be doing. We'll be using some Vallejo gunmetal and other kind of gunmetals, whatever I have. I'll just thin down and blast them through that. But it should give me much better effect, much better control. And then from there, we'll kind of add to the contrast color. I'm not sure what contrast color we're going to use. I think Luke is one of the folks who's done yellow, and it's really beautiful. Yellow can be kind of a prick to paint, so I'm not sure exactly what, but with the Martian terrain being kind of that red stuff, and obviously the metallic, we'll need sort of a third color to kind of contrast with that. So next up, I'll probably show you some of the painting as I go through with the airbrush on all this terrain, and hopefully the sculpted mode shows up here sooner than later, so we can, once painted, get this thing mounted, and we'll go through and paint and base it. I also ordered some Geek Gaming Scenics, the Martian sand. They're completely sold out of the ready base stuff, which is fine. I really needed the sand mostly for this, and I can kind of fill in with other rocks and stuff as need be. But really waiting on that to show up, and then the sculpted mold, so I can mount the rest of the stuff. But in the interim, I've got a whole bunch of terrain to paint, including stuff that was actually primered well, versus kind of that first patch with the really terrible primer that was just hot garbage. But if you do need to strip stuff, LA's totally awesome. You can buy it at the dollar stores. It's fantastic. It's an alkali degreaser, as I recall. There's a much smarter person than me whose name I'm forgetting. He's got long red hair, but he's actual PhD in chemistry, and he does a whole freaking review of different strippers from like LA's totally awesome, simple green, alcohol, I think he tries like turpentine, going into this full well, knowing what he's doing, and he has like controls and everything else. So he's the guy who knows what he's doing, and in my experience as well, LA's totally awesome is the jam. But yeah, if you have any questions, let me know. Cheers. So as promised, here is the prototyping, showing some of the supports I put in. So those are the kind of stringers I put in with the screws that I then hacksawed off and ended up covering with some hot glue. So those are screwed glued with wood glue, trying to make it as strong as possible without having to buy more MDF. You can see I outlined the sheet. Here was kind of some of the early prototyping using these gantries, trying to figure out how it's all going to lay out. Some more prototyping, thinking about how best to make this thing work, how's it going to be playable, how's it going to block line of sight, all that sort of good stuff. And the more I built it out, the more I kind of realized, okay, I kind of want to build this up. So here I've got everything kind of glued together, getting ready for painting and priming, or rather priming. Again, here's more prototyping, kind of figuring out how it's all going to fit together in my head as I go through this thing. You see other stuff I'm building. And then here you can see all the different pieces I've got. So really I used a lot of extra pieces when I was doing this. So instead of just cutting up some fresh XPS foam, I have so many little offcuts. And since it was going to get covered up, I decided to use those as much as possible in the base. And you can see that here, and it's environmentally friendly, which is nice. It saves some money, and I'm not wasting more foam for stuff that's going to get covered under layers of other foam and sculpted mode and so on. Yeah, cheers.